Marvel is back with a brand new movie, but this time they're switching things up. Instead of the usual heroes, we get a ragtag, darker team of anti-heroes known as the Thunderbolts. But is this new direction a hit, or is it just another film better saved for streaming for later? Let's get started on my review of the Thunderbolts. Let's go.
From the town I like nothing, when I'm hopefuls lit. A small city or some, but mostly no one forgets. On the outskirts of where I've been, dreaming since a kid. Thought I was cursed to never see a radio hit. A Grammy to industry or something, even close. Miles outside.
What's going on, all my beautiful people? This is Jacey, and I just got back from watching the movie Thunderbolts. Before I start my review, please note this will be a spoiler-free review, just in case you haven't seen it yet, currently showing in theaters this weekend. Also, please make sure that you hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell to stay up to date on more new Marvel films that I'm reviewing just like this. So, Thunderbolts stars my baby, Florence Pugh, David Harbour, Wyatt Russell, Sebastian Stan, Louis Pullman, and more. Ensnared in a death trap, an unconventional team of anti-heroes, Yelena Belova, Bucky Barnes, Red Guardian, Ghost, Taskmaster, and John Walker embark on a dangerous mission that forces them to confront their darkest corners of their pasts. Alright, so when it was announced that we were gonna get a Thunderbolts movie, I was pretty excited, but when they finally announced who was going to be a part of that team and who we're going to get, I was a little underwhelmed, to say the least, because in the comics, we've gotten a lot of interesting characters throughout the Thunderbolts history. We not only got Punisher, but we also got Elektra, we've gotten Red Hulk, we've gotten even Lady Wolverine. And when they announced that it was just gonna be Yelena, Red Guardian, Bucky Barnes, John Walker, like some of those I was not that enthusiastic about. But I thought I'm going to check it out anyways because it is a superhero Marvel film, which I love superheroes. Also, I was thinking, all right, there's a chance this might actually be good, and that's because of two reasons. One, because of Florence Pugh, and two, because of David Harbour. And after coming back from watching this movie in theaters, you guys, I can confidently say, yes, those are some reasons, but there are some surprisingly different reasons as well why this movie works. So before I get into the positives and negatives, let me explain a little bit more about some of the things that can give you context about this movie going into it. So Thunderbolts tells the story of a group of lesser known Marvel characters, aka their version of the Suicide Squad, who are thrown together for a bigger mission. Now at first, the movie does take a while to get going. There's a lot of explaining early on, especially with Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, and like she says in the movie, it's De Fontaine, not just Fontaine, but she's calling the shots while Bucky Barnes kind of stands around, now oddly a politician. And that was one of the things that even going into this movie and even seeing Captain America Brave New World, that's kind of a spoiler for that movie, but hopefully you've seen it already if you're watching this. It's not a huge spoiler, but we've seen that Bucky Barnes is now a politician. Someone who's actually had a darker past and who's done a lot of killing somehow as a politician, which I don't know if that speaks to our current climate today with politics or just in general, they wanted to make it interesting with his character. But the setup does feel slow, like this film isn't sure where it wants to go yet. And I was a little apprehensive within the first 20 to 30 minutes of this film. But nonetheless, the chemistry started to blend pretty well together, and you started to see these characters kind of play off of each other. And once the story kicks into gear, it starts to shine. One of the best parts is watching these characters who haven't met before team up and bond in surprising ways. It gives the film some heart and humor and feels genuine. Still, while some team-ups are fun, the group as a whole never fully connects. And by the end, the movie starts to feel a bit gloomy and has some darker themes, especially centered around mental health, which totally shocked me, and I was not expecting that. But it takes center stage and it hits hard. Almost too hard for a film that also wants to be funny. You not only have some of these darker themes, and this movie as a whole serves as an allegory for depression and mental health, but also unity and coming together to fight for a bigger cause. Somehow the humor works in here and feels natural. A lot of that is, though, thanks to David Harbour's Red Guardian. So I will get into that in a bit, but this movie did something that I haven't seen a Marvel film do with tackling some of those darker themes, and although I kind of wish it would have leaned into that a little bit more, we still got a good glimpse of it, and I did like how it was portrayed in here. The plot really digs deep into one of the Thunderbolt characters and their inner struggle. I won't won't say too much of who it is, but I did like how Marvel did a good job of diverting your attention to who we thought the film was going to dig deeper into with their past, and just kind of showed you someone else who becomes a bigger part of the plot even towards the end. And the character's presence forces the rest of the team to face their past and fears. Although I would have loved to see some of the other characters and their past traumas, you do see a few, and I love really getting a glimpse at that. It builds a lot of depth and it adds weight to the story overall. This darker side of the film is where it actually works best, to be honest. I also did like how it feels very authentic and real on how the team forms and how they are put together by happenstance, where it feels like they have to work together to accomplish their mission. That eventually leads to them having to save the day and finding out that there's true strength in unity. Now let's get to the acting. The cast does a solid job bringing their characters to life. Florence Pugh is especially strong as Yelena. She mixes sarcasm with sadness in a way that makes you feel for her. Now I knew back from when I saw her in the Black Widow movie, which kind of kept me entertained and watching the whole movie, when I thought, why are we barely getting a Black Widow film? She really stole the show for me. Not only that, but I've followed Florence Pugh throughout her career, and she's done a great job in a lot of movies she's been in, even if the movies weren't that good. Her chemistry with David Harbour, aka Red Guardian, is one of the movie's highlights for sure. Their scenes as a weird, loving father-daughter duo are funny, awkward, and sweet all at once. David Harbour plays his role with wild energy and steals a lot of scenes when it comes to the comedic moments. And I knew he was someone to watch back when I saw him in the first season of Stranger Things, and even after that, learning that he's been in all sorts of films even before that. But I love how he's starting to really come into his own and really build on the characters that he portrays in a lot of films. The rest of the team, including Ghost, John Walker, and Red Guardian, all have fun moments. Even if they don't always work perfectly together as a team, for sure they have their standouts. Lewis Pullman in the film also does a surprisingly good job, and it's funny when I saw him in the previews and they announced that he was going to be in this film as Bob, I thought, wait, that's the guy in Bad Times at the El Royale, and I loved his character in there. I also thought his acting was great in there. So I was pretty stoked to see him. And his performance adds emotion and tension to the movie. Though it definitely pulls the tone into a darker place, I still did like how Marvel took that chance and that risk with his character. Now we do also have to talk about the action in this film. I'm gonna be honest, the action is kind of a mixed bag in this movie. Some of the scenes are creative, like one early hallway battle scene from The Above that really stands out to me. You could tell that the director tried to make things look cool and meaningful at the same time, and it works in that regard, but there's not a lot of action scenes that really stick out in here. And what I mean by that is there's other times where the action feels like just standard Marvel stuff. Now, since the majority of the Thunderbolts don't really have superpowers, I was hoping this was going to be one of those movies that showcases a lot of the battle sequences on more of a street level. I thought we were going to get some action scenes to kind of mirror Captain America's Winter Soldier, but we don't really get that here. While the fights are decent, the real battles in this movie are inside the characters' minds. So I get that the true focus of this film is really within the character depth. Everyone is dealing with some kind of pain and regret, and that's what the film does best. I did appreciate that, especially for a Marvel film as of lately with this latest phase, and some can argue even the prior phase. We haven't really seen that, and I did feel like that was a breath of fresh air. So here are my final thoughts, you guys. Thunderbolts isn't perfect, but it's interesting and it's entertaining. It gives us a different kind of Marvel story. Smaller, sadder, and more personable. Not every joke lands, and not every fight is exciting, but the character moments with themes and pain and trauma really hit home. With the team showing great chemistry and both Florence Pugh and David Harbour stealing the show, it for sure kept my audience captivated throughout the whole showing. It also manages to feel more like its own thing instead of being just another place in the Marvel machine. Even though there are hints of a larger part of this story or what's going to lead to the next movie, it did have me hyped with the end credit scenes. So please make sure that you stay for both of them. Yes, there are 2 scenes. In a world full of massive superhero crossovers, this one feels more down to earth. And that's part of what makes it worth checking out. Even though the third act leans into some familiar cliches and ends with that classic Marvel style cheesiness, longtime fans of the earlier Marvel movies will see this as a refreshing return to form and will likely enjoy the ride. With all that being said, I'm gonna give Thunderbolts 4 flames out of 5 and a fire film rating.
It's good.
Thunderbolts takes Marvel in a darker, more emotional direction by focusing on a team of troubled anti-heroes focused to work together on a dangerous mission. While the movie starts slow and the group doesn't fully gel, strong performances, especially from Florence Pugh and David Harbour, bring depth and heart to the film. The action is hit or miss, but the real strength lies in its deeper themes of pain, identity, and redemption, especially through the haunting character of the antagonist that they are fighting in this movie. Now, this isn't your typical Marvel movie, but that's what makes it stand out, and for sure, this is a solid watch. Alright guys, so have you seen this film yet, or are you looking forward to seeing it? What's your favorite Marvel movie in this latest phase so far? Let me know in the comments below. The last thing before I do go, you guys, please make sure that you hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell to stay up to date. My name's JC, and until next time, I'm out.